Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of the video series. In part 1, we talked about the first 4 steps needed to start a business, as I am reflecting on a business that I started and it eventually flopped, and I want to talk about the lessons learned. And in part 1, just as a recap, we talked about having the right mindset, refining the business idea, knowing your competitors and markets, and creating a business plan. And of course, this was for a tutoring company that I wanted to start in order to help students close the learning gaps caused by the pandemic. Okay, so moving on to step 5. And step 5 is choosing your business structure. And this is a very important thing. If you are considering starting a business, you're really going to want to be well versed in all of these. However, please be sure to check out the lessons learned video that I'm going to have, which will be part 3, where I go over the lessons learned as far as how to set up the appropriate business structure for your business. Going back to the tutoring company that I started, I went ahead, after doing a lot of research, I went ahead and formed an LLC through my state. And this was to provide me with liability protection, just in case something were to go wrong. I wanted to make sure that I had some protection against, being held personally liable as a business owner. All right, so then the next step that I had was to apply for the employer identification number. And this number was used a lot of times in lieu of a social security number when doing business on behalf of the business. So for example, opening up a bank account, I use the EIN number to open up the bank account. And this was done, I went to the local credit union where I currently have a bank account, and I opened up a business account. So that way I could keep my personal funds and business funds separate. And that's an important piece that you would want to remember. And that's why you would need an EIN number for that. In terms of legal licenses, there was no licenses or permits needed because it wasn't a physical business, at least in the state I lived in. The LLC and registration was going to be sufficient. Opening a bank account, okay, there it is, keeping your business and personal finances separate. And this is critical, obviously, for auditing purposes and just for your own sanity. If you have separate accounts, it's going to allow you to keep track of your expenses and income that comes in or into your accounts. And then there's the business insurance, and this I didn't have because, again, I was still in that startup phase, and then choosing a bookkeeper and accounting software. And I actually subscribed and used the, let's say it was the QuickBooks Online, I want to say it was. I believe it was QuickBooks Online that I used. And their software is actually pretty good for your basic accounting and small business accounting. So I had that all set up. And of course, one thing to remember is that this all came at a fee, right? So there was money being spent on all of this, which I'll get to in the next one, which is funding your business. Now, with this particular project, I wanted to keep the funds or the funding requirement as low as possible. I didn't want to borrow funds, so I didn't take out any loans or anything. It was an opportunity for me to just put some money out there. So I was able to slowly do it. It was over the course of maybe 3 months that I, from start to finish. And in those 3 months, that was the business planning, the research, the creating of handbooks, and all of the things that would be needed to have a sound and solid business plan or business to launch out to the public. So this project was actually funded by personal savings or personal funds, which made it a little bit easier because I didn't have the stress of, say, credit card debt or knowing that I'm paying interest on it as I was going through the process. And then, so here's external funds, crowdfunding. I didn't use any of those sources. It was just to get up and running. And then the final piece was going to be the marketing. So again, at this point, I have my plan set. I have a marketing plan set in terms of a website being built. So I have all my back end accounting done. I have my manuals done. I've already started to post ads on Indeed to make sure that I have a pipeline of people that would be able to support this initiative once it was launched, and I was ready to go. So again, I had the website ready. I launched it. I posted it to my Facebook, and it's good to go. I used Wix for their website building. It was real simple. I had paid somebody to design the website, and it was pretty solid. It was straightforward, clear information, trying to use some of the best layouts and platforms across the different companies that I saw when I was doing my research. So the advertising piece, again, consisted of a website that was being spread through Facebook Marketplace, had ads on Craigslist because I'd seen another company doing that, as well as Google ads. They also have an ad structure as well through them. And I spent quite a bit of money. That was actually the bulk of where the cost came from, and it was on marketing. And that is how I was able to set up my tutoring business. And those are the 8 steps of setting up a business, and I shared how I was able to do it for a tutoring company in order to help children. So please join me for part 3 of this video series, and that's where I'm really going to hone in on the specific lessons that were learned on each of these 8 steps. As always, I appreciate your time, and this is Dr. Diffins signing off. Bye-bye.